With Switchblade X9 and KRM 262 leading the meta when it comes to close range gunfights, there are times where you might want to play range if you're holding power positions, or if you want to be that guy who tries to anchor spawns for your team. Today we'll go over the 5 best guns you can use right now for playing passive in COD Mobile. At number 5 we have the Man of War. It's currently the best passive AR and one of the best passive weapons. Thanks to a huge BSA and recoil buff, it's easier to use and you can use an aggressive build while also being able to fight at mid to long range. The aggressive build for a Man of War is still pretty slow compared to other weapons, so don't think of it as a fast gunsmith build. We have 2 gunsmiths for the Man of War. This one being the true passive gunsmith, meant to be used passively and from long range, with a really stable recoil and a super accurate PSA. With the second build having a faster mobility and ADS speed, but with worse recoil and its 3-tap range shortened compared to the first build. In case you want a red dot to be more comfortable at longer ranges, you can put one instead of the barrel no matter the build you're using, or instead of the mag, but then you'll have to work with 25 bullets. At the number 4 spot, we have the Chopper. Now you might ask, why so low in this list? Because even if it is a really good LMG, it isn't the best for playing passive, but thanks to great damages and range after the last update, it's been really fun. For you, not the enemies. It's also the fastest weapon in this list, and here's the gunsmith we use for it. Remember that you can change the disable perk or FMJ perk for wallbangs. At number 3, we have the UL736. It received a huge damage buff, and the numbers speak for themselves. Just take a look at this. Like the Man of War, it can 3-tap, but you have to hit the right hitboxes to do that, namely the head, the arms, and the chest. It isn't impossible, but it will be hard to pull off a 3-tap with this gun in today's meta. You might ask, why isn't the Man of War ranked higher if it has better damage and range? The thing is, UL has a better wallbang penetration, while also having more bullets and an easier to control recoil. And the most important thing, it has disable perk on, which is useful on LMGs while being useless on ARs. Here's the gunsmith we use for it. As for the UL736, you can use FMJ perk or a red dot instead of the disable perk depending on your preferences. At the second spot, we have the current best LMG, which is none other than the RPD. With the cooling compressor barrel, you never have to reload, and that makes it kinda overpowered. RPD has a really good consistent time to kill at range, and compared to the UL736 for example, it has higher base damages, which lessens the variable of shots you need to kill. Helps a lot when it comes to wallbangs. As for all the LMGs mentioned earlier, you can change the disable perk for a red dot or FMJ perk on this gunsmith. At the number 1 spot in this list, we have the SKS and the SVD. So the SKS can 2-shot infinitely if you are shooting in the right hitboxes, which is anywhere in the upper body, and it can infinitely 1-shot to the head. But the biggest issue when you're playing ranked with it is the flinch. But don't worry, if you use this build, you can still use quick fix without having much issues with the flinch. And if you're mainly playing S&D, go for toughness as it is still a plus when using the SKS. The SVD is slightly different. It can 2-shot infinitely but without having to aim for a special hitbox. It also has an infinite 1-shot headshot, and it has a potential 1-shot to the chest and the arms in the first range, which goes up to around 35 meters depending on the build you use. Compared to the SKS, it has a slightly slower fire rate, which makes it slightly harder to use, but looking at its damages, it's objectively more powerful. It's up to you to choose which one you prefer. Here's the gunsmith we use for the SVD. Try different optics and pick the one you're comfortable with. What's your best passive weapon? Let us know down in the comments below. These guns will be useless unless you get better aim, and here are some aiming tips that will help you with that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.